Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Manzur Ahmed, lecturer history. Our today's topic for 12th class students of history subject is who were Santhals and why Santhals rebelled against the British rule. Dear students, in the beginning of the 19th century, Santhals were the people who lived around Rajmahal Hills, which are located in modern state of Jharkhand. We understand that it was around these Rajmahal Hills where also the Paharis lived. About Paharis we have discussed in the previous lecture, and the Paharis were totally kind of reserved people, conserved people who did not want to meet the outsiders. Britishers wanted Paharis to cultivate various crops and do agricultural activities in their areas, but Paharis declined to do so. Ultimately, in 1832, a large area of land in the foothills of Rajmahal was demarcated by the British officials as Damani Koh, and this Damani Koh was declared as the land of Santhals. The British officials asked Santhals to clear forests in the Damani Koh area and cultivate various crops after clearing different forests in the Damani Koh area. We understand that when these Santhals were brought into the Rajmahal Hills and the Damani Koh area, and their number increased with the passage of time, we know that in 1838 the total number of Santhal villages around Damani Koh was only 40, but in 1851 the number of the villages rose to 1473. So within a very short period of time the number of Santhal villages increased, and over the same period the Santhal population increased from 3,000 to 82,000. So we need to understand that with the passage of time the population of Santhals grew, and we also need to understand it was in the same area where Paharis lived. But as a result of this clash, as a result, when both Santhals and Paharis lived in the Rajmahal Hills, a clash took place between the Santhals and Paharis, and Santhals were supported by the British government. Therefore, Santhals defeated the Paharis, and Paharis were forced to go in the interior of the Rajmahal Hills, where they had to face lots of hardships and problems. And the Santhals now cleared forests in the Damani Koh area and cultivated various crops. Why Britishers wanted them to cultivate crops? Because Britishers thought that if Santhals would clear the forest lands and cultivate crops, and from that production, the Santhals would have to also pay land revenue to the British government. That way, the income and the revenue of the government would get increased. Therefore, this British government encouraged Santhals to do agricultural activities in the Damani Koh area. Not only do agricultural activities, but the Britishers also wanted the Santhal peasants to settle in the Damani Koh area permanently and do agricultural activities continuously in the Damani Koh area. But with the passage of time, the zamindars means the big huge we can say aristocrats, are the persons who had huge land estates under their control, who has huge land holdings under their control, and made peasants to cultivate different kinds of crops in their land estate. These were the zamindars, and these zamindars and the British government, with the passage of time, began to harass and oppress the Santhals by different ways and different means. When this oppression, when the cruelty, when the excesses reached its climax, ultimately in 1855 and 1856, the Santhalas revolted against the Zamindars and against the British officials. And in 1855 and 1856, this Santhal revolt, which Santhal started in 1855, was also known as Santhal Hool. The important reasons behind this Santhal Hool or Santhal Rebellion or Santhal Revolt can be discussed as under. Number one, the land which Santhals had made cultivable with their hard work was getting into the hands of the new Zamindars. Because dear students, I just now told you, Zamindars were the people who had huge land estates under their control and made peasants to cultivate various crops in their land estates. And after cultivating various crops, the peasants were given a very small share of production, and rest of the production was taken away by the Zamindar. And with the passage of time, when Santhals made the Damanikoh area, when they cleared this Damanikoh area from the forests with their hard work and made it worth cultivable, made it possible to cultivate various crops in this land. And just after starting cultivation in these crops, the Zamindars came, and Zamindars began to claim rights over the lands of the Santhals, which Santhals were not able to tolerate. The Zamindars oppressed these Santhals in different ways, in a number of ways. Santhals could have revolted earlier against the Zamindars, but the Zamindars were supported by the British government, and British government was a big force. They had army, they had police, they had all other weaponry at their disposal. Therefore, Santhals did not resist, did not dare, did not have courage to revolt against the British Zamindars in the earlier stages, because Zamindars were supported by the Britishers. So Zamindars oppressed and we can say did all kinds of injustice with the Santhals in all ways. They used to take maximum production from them. They used to claim revenue rights from them. They used to leave a small production of crops with the Santhals. Rest of the production was taken by Zamindars. So Zamindars did all kinds of cruelties against these Santhals, which turned at the end of the day, which turned these Santhals against the Zamindars. Also, the government began to impose taxes on their lands. The land which was cleared of forests by Santhals and made worth cultivable by Santhals due to the hard work, slowly and steadily, initially British government imposed no tax on these lands, but with the passage of time, British government began to impose more and more tax on the lands, and the heavy taxation forced Santhals to go to the moneylenders and take loans from them. Because when government asked people, the Santhals, to pay heavy taxes, the Santhals did not have money to pay these taxes, did not have revenue to pay these taxes. So these Santhals used to go to moneylenders, the moneylenders they used to lend money, they used to give money to the Santhals on the interest in the form of loans. But once the Santhals would take the loans, they were not able to get themselves freed from the clutches of the moneylenders, because the increasing rate of interest never allowed Santhals to get out of the clutches of the moneylenders. So, taking loan once, the Santhals got themselves caught in the strong clutches or the cruel clutches of the moneylenders forever. So, moneylenders also, by demanding excessive interest on their loans from the Santhals, also made Santhals against them. At the end, Santhals decided to rebel against the Zamindars, the moneylenders, and the British rule, and create an ideal world for themselves where they only could rule themselves with no foreign interference. The Santhal revolt. The Santhals revolted under the leadership of two brothers, namely Sidhu Manji and Kunu Manji, with 60,000 Santhals, starting on 7th July 1855. However, after some period of time, the Santhal revolt was suppressed, but the Santhals started a revolt. They showed their resentment against the high-handedness of the Zamindars, of moneylenders, and of the British rule. Thank you.